All right, everybody. Unhappy Wednesday. Coming to you live once again from our humble abode here. This is the 1-year anniversary of the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio. We thank you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. So please pull up a chair, turn up the volume, use the company dime if you're still stuck at work. Of course, we hope that's not the case. And let's try to have some fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. Keenan over here, I think you got the right idea, bud. Dubbing the theme music with Zeppelin's The Ocean. I am on your side. David Califoot checking in over on YouTube says, sorry about Friday. It was his birthday, so happy birthday, Dave. No reason to apologize for that at all. Lou Mancini. Hey, peeps, I'm bouncing off the walls waiting for the draft. You are not alone, my friend. And Keenan, unhappy birthday. Yeah, this is a year, guys. So you know, it's been a fun year. I went back and I watched the first show, or like the first 15, 20 minutes of it when I was on lunch the other day. And just to see, and you could just see how nervous I was, going into it. And I think that's probably natural, right? But I didn't know what to expect. I'm pretty confident in the stuff that I'll say about sports and whatever. And I don't, some of you know me well enough by now to know that if people disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. I'm still going to say what I'm going to say. And I kind of wear it on my sleeve. But you could definitely see nervous, and I was trying to introduce myself and, what goes on behind the door back here and everything. And we had a good time with that night. But, over the course of the year, and then I went back and I watched some of the Right on Cue shows from when he first did that. And I first started going on there with him. And that's kind of how we got to this show. So just a lot of fun over the last year. You learn some things. We've not missed a show. I had the flu 1 week, and I was running a fever like 102, 103. We still did the show. Came right on after still trying to mend my voice from Arizona, and we came right on. We did this show a number of times right from the Back Porch Saloon, which is our home for our Midwest Eagles Nest. Hopefully over the summer, we'll be able to get back to some of that. Mike plays volleyball on Wednesday nights up there. So it's a little tough. I could go there and do the show by myself. But, when we go on location, like, it's more fun to have someone sitting next to me, right? Because I can't really bring anybody else in. So where else have we done this show? Well, other than that, it's just been here. We've had a number of guests, right? My friend Sam has been on a couple of times. Fito's been on with us a couple of times, including this past week. Quimby has dropped in from time to time, including the first time he did where he hijacked the whole thing. We've had Chris Sack and Lou Dominguez on here. That's always a good time. Talk a lot of baseball. It's been a great year. And a lot of that has to do with you guys here in the room. You guys know I call you out every week. But it's true. Especially when we reach for content, I always talk about it like that last July, that period of time where it's the All-Star break for baseball. So there's not even baseball going on, and there's nothing else going on, and you're just reaching for something to talk about. You guys come in the room and you start heckling and razzing me and razzing each other, and it adds content, and it makes it gives us the hour to get through. So if you keep hearing weird noise or the camera shaking or whatever, my wife took the kids to go get haircuts, so the dog is in here with me, and he's being a gigantic pain in the ass. No, Lou, before you jump to where he's going to poop on my floor, he does not have to go out, but I am going to try to let him out of the room now. You want out, puppy? Go on. Go ahead. There he goes. He's going to quickly discover there's nobody down there, and he's going to come scratch at the door again. Or he won't. Either way, at least it'll be a little more quiet in here. Anyways, thank you guys, all of you who have listened, either, now live or later on, and in particular, who I call our usual suspects in the room who who are in here every week and commenting and welcoming or heckling other folks, yeah, including my own son. Right, we did have my oldest come on, and before he went on, he wanted to talk basketball, NBA. He's a big NBA fan, and I gave him some trigger words to stay away from, given that it's a Philly audience mostly. And of course, he came right on and immediately, basically threw out every word I told him not to. And you guys did not. You guys treated him like he was a 60-year-old talking sports. It was great. A couple of my friends got on me a little bit. What did you stick up for? I'm like, hey, I told him what not to say, and he went on there and did it anyway. So, but no, I just want to say thank you to all of you out there who listen, who come in here every week, or listen at a later time, later date, whatever. It means the absolute world to me. Of course, first and foremost, want to thank Quimby for giving me the opportunity. It's been a really fun year, and I hope we can continue to do this for a while longer. I'd like to start pushing for some sort of sponsorship to put some more coin in the Green Legion, but I guess that's something I'll have to talk about with the boss. But again, to Quimby, thank you if you hear this later. I know he says he tries not to jump in and listen or whatever, to kind of just let me do my own thing. But if you do listen, brother, thank you very much. And, I hope to talk to you soon. Super Sam is another one. She got me off and rolling when I didn't really know how to use this, use the software, use the website with StreamYard here. So without her, I would not be able to fumble my way through this. There was one week where I had some technical difficulty. I go into the room, go to the studio, and my camera and my microphone aren't working. I call Sam right away, and she steps right in and helps. When we went to go do the show at the back porch, she took time to hop on and listen to see how Mike and I sounded sitting there, to make sure we were all well and good. She takes my phone calls and text messages whenever I need. She has been absolutely fantastic. And really, to the rest of the Green Legion, Diaz, Chris, and then Lou Dominguez and Ashley out there too. Just all the support, and I really, really appreciate it. And of course, we also need to say thank you to Mrs. Unhappy, right? My wife, and of course my children, for because when I do this, there's some prep that goes into it. I have to, I got a whole bunch of useless knowledge in my head, but in order to organize it and get it out, I need to, kind of do some of this and at least give myself bullets to keep myself on track. So there's some prep work that takes time away from the fam. There is, and then the show itself, that's an hour to an hour and a half. Russ Taylor likes to jump in here. He says, best shows have been the 4-hour shows and the night we roasted your son. So what he's talking about, was I alluded to before, was when I had my oldest Grady on, wanted to talk basketball. He brought up Ben Simmons, and these guys went absolutely ham on him, and deservedly so. I told him not to mention Simmons, and he didn't listen. So, then he got all upset. And the more they roasted him, the more upset he got. It was just hysterical. And then, of course, the 4-hour event he's talking about was the first time we did the Friday Unhappy Hour. I've had to move from Wednesday twice, both times to accommodate choir events for my daughter. The most recent time was this past Friday. We were on for about 2.5 hours. But the first time, Fito and I were on for about 4 hours. I think I pounded 12 or 13 beers while we were doing the show. And Russ Taylor, to his credit, he stayed on with us the entire time. He was on with us the entire 4 hours. It was pretty impressive. So just, fun moments like that. We had Chris Sack and Lou on and talked about, we did a whole baseball kind of Lou couldn't join us that night. That's right. That just Chris came on and we talked baseball, a lot of free agency and some rule changes and stuff like that. It's just been a great year. So from me to all of you, thank you very, very much. Whether you realize it or not, you all play a huge role in, not just the Green Legion and your continued, just legendary support of the Green Legion in general, but the Green Legion Radio, to this show, and to making me feel comfortable. Like I said, I went back and I watched that first show that I did, and I was nervous, really, really nervous. And I'd still be that way if you guys were total dicks to me the whole time. But it's more like, it's a give and take, right? So we razz each other a little bit, and you guys have really made me feel at home. So thank you, all of you, very, very much. All right, down to business. Rock and Raj. Oh, this is Roger from our Midwest Eagles Nest. How you doing, my brother? Thank you for dropping in. Lou Mancini says Grady was awesome. He tried, man. He really did try, but he did not do himself any favors. And I think it was Russ and Keenan really just went at him. And David Califoot. My brother, it would not be an unhappy Gilmore show if we didn't get you dropping that Yankees sucking at least one time. And I'll tell you what, over the last week, aside from today, over the last week, the Yankees have been pretty bad. So I'm not going to argue with you there. You guys know my stance. June 1st, about 40 games in, that's when we'll really take that first pulse. But your Phillies have kind of started to right the ship. It sounds like you're going to get Harper back much sooner than expected. So that will be, that'll be a good thing for you. Lonnie Zimmerman. Haven't chatted in a while, but wanted to jump on and say happy anniversary. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. No, we haven't seen you on here in a while, but thank you for taking time out to come on and drop a line. I really appreciate it. Lou Mancini, first time I sung karaoke, I was nervous, but like me, you've grown, my friend. Hey, I think the only times I've ever sang karaoke, I was so drunk that there was no way for me to be nervous. It was more of a, when you wake up the next morning, you're scared to look at your text messages type of thing. But anyways, let's get down to some business here, shall we? Get this show off and back to where we normally roll to. Folks, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're comfortable, of course, we totally get it. But the YouTube channel is the best way to view, listen, and comment on any Green Legion radio show. So go ahead and search YouTube, the Green Legion, click subscribe, click that little bell to get your notifications for any time a show goes live. If you cannot catch us live, you can always watch or listen later on any of those services mentioned, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Lou Mancini, the first person to ever remind me to get that link up. So I'm going to have to buy you a beer when I come to Philadelphia. But thank you for doing that so I can get this up here, and we're going to roll that. Bam, there it is. Not that I think anybody will actually try to jump in. I have had a couple of people try to jump in who I didn't recognize, and I ended up with comments in a private chat that only I can see on here that were really, really nasty. So I'm glad I didn't add them. But anyways, moving on. Again, you guys see all the Green Legion posts, obviously, right? The early bird RSVPs, they're out there. Jump on it, right? This is LA, Seattle, Tampa, New England, the Giants, the Jets, Dallas, and Washington for this upcoming season. You can jump on full on board with the Kansas City trip right now if you wanted to. That one is fully. It's not an early bird thing. You will just jump in and pay for your trip now. The anticipated date is that first game of the season. Oh boy, let's add him in, folks. One of our usual suspects, Lou Mancini. How you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
Yeah, it's nice to have you on.
Yo, man, happy anniversary, man.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You have no idea how much of a getaway and escape from reality the Green Legion and your show has been for me, man. It's just been awesome.
Well, that's what Quimby sells, right? He sells fan experience, right? So whether it's me holed up in my little shit-ass bedroom here or you're out on a road trip in Los Angeles or something, we're here to entertain, man, and I'm glad that we can continue to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And also, man, I can't wait till you come to Philly. Hopefully I'll be able to hook up with you guys and just hang out. I realize it's family time and all that stuff, but it'd be nice to catch up, man. You're definitely bucket list guy I want to meet.
So what's your normal Friday look like?
My normal Friday, I could make it an abnormal Friday.
Well, don't do that on our. We're going to be bouncing around Philly no matter what. So, I don't know what your normal Friday looks like, so that we can try to accommodate some of that, because a lot of that weekend is going to be a lot of running around, and I want to make sure that I'm at least able to tell you guys, hey, I'm going to be at John's Roast Pork at 4:00 on Friday, or I'm going to be at D'Alessandro's at noon on Sunday, or something along those lines, so that I'm not going to be able to bounce around and see everybody. So I want to try to be able to give a couple of different times and places where people, if they have the opportunity, can come see my stupid ass.
Yeah, well, my normal Friday is I can make, like I said, I can make it abnormal by just scheduling that day off and getting the info of where you're going to be and what time, and maybe we could get Keenan and who knows else.
Yeah, that'd be great. I certainly don't want anybody using their PTO, for my idiot ass coming to Philly. I'm going to have the kids with me too, so it's not like I can't go. I can't go to a bar or anything, with the kids and whatnot. But I think that Friday, the idea is we're going to get up and have breakfast and then go hit the city. You're talking Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell, the market, Rocky. The kids want to run up the steps like the tourists that they are. And my son wants to go to the American Revolution Museum, all of that sort of stuff. The Independence Hall to me is the most important for them. It's only the most important room in the country, in the country's history. So, you kind of have to go there, right? And Liberty Bell's right across the street. A lot of it can get done in like a day. You just got to keep moving. That's the ticket.
Yeah, exactly. But I got to tell you, the Revolutionary Museum was fantastic. I could not believe how cool that was. And also, if you're going to go to John's Roast Pork, that's a lunch deal. You don't want to wait too much afternoon to go there.
Yeah, so they're not open on Sunday, which kind of sucks. Because that's the other free day. That Saturday is all baseball for me and the boys, right? We're up, breakfast, and then we're straight over to Citizens Bank to get in as soon as the gates open, get our, walk around the ballpark, see everything there, get our pictures, get our passport books stamped, watch the game, and then boogie on out of there, and we're heading down to Baltimore, and we're going to catch the Orioles game that night. So we're double dipping same day. I may end up having to leave the Phils game a little early. I don't like to do that, but it'll all just depend on how the game's going.
That's awesome, dude. That's you guys are going to have a blast.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. We did this last year when we went in the summertime. We went to Milwaukee, and we took a day and went down to Chicago. I dropped the girls off at Navy Pier. They went to the Children's Museum or whatever there. And the boys and I went over to the White Sox game. When we were done, we Ubered back over, picked them up, drove back up to Milwaukee, dropped the girls off at the hotel. They got their dinner. Boys and I went over to Miller Park and caught the Brewers game that night. So it's a hectic day, but you can do it.
All right, brother. Look, keep me posted when you're going to be there. And
for sure.
We'll be in touch. And also, happy anniversary, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
You've been killing it. I won't take up any more of your time. And
you take up as much as you want, man.
Later, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Lou. Lou Mancini hopping in to say hi. That was awesome. Again, dude, you guys are just the best. You really are. Desi checking in. Desi, happy anniversary, Gilmore. Have fun in PA. It's not till July, but I appreciate it. Rock and Roger, I want to visit Valley Forge and go to Gettysburg again. I would like to take the boys to get the fam to Gettysburg. We may end up trying to do that on the way back from Philly and Baltimore. It'll all just depend on timing. We've only got so many days. So, So I've gone through this a couple times, right? We're going to drive in, get get into town kind of late on Thursday night, get up Friday, and it's sightseeing in Philly. We will figure out a time for lunch or whatever to get everybody, whoever wants to come out and grab something to eat or something. And then we'll do the same thing for dinner on that Friday night. Saturday is all about baseball for me and the boys. The girls are going to figure out something else. We're going to keep working on that as that gets closer. That Sunday, we had tabbed as another day in Philly. Well, both of my brothers are going to be in South Jersey at a wedding. So when we wake up Sunday, we're going to hook up with them. And, we'll probably spend the day. I haven't seen my brothers since August of 2021. Yeah, August 2021. So it's been about a year and a half. It'll be almost 2 years by the time the trip comes up. So it'll be great to hang out with them, and my nieces and nephews and stuff. And I haven't seen them. They haven't seen Michelle and the kids in 9 years. Yeah, so it's been tough. But and so that's going to be Sunday. Monday we had tabbed to go to Baltimore. But I mean we could probably split the day, Philly and Baltimore or vice versa. We'll figure it out, guys. I have no concerns that we'll be able to try to see as many folks as possible. And of course, it's all what you have time to do too. Like you heard me tell Lou a few minutes ago. I'm very appreciative that people want to take time out of their lives to come see us. If you couldn't tell, my face turned red. I was like flattered, blushing. And that's, I tell you 100% that's genuine. But it's all what you guys have time to do. And it's not like it'll be our last time in Philly. We will just, we will come back and be there again. Let me hop back over again here. Rock and Raj. I've been to Liberty Bell and the whole preserved Capitol, visited the Mint and all the museums as well. Yep. Takes time. And Lonnie Zinnerman, I'm exhausted just listening. I know. It's a lot of running around, darling. But that's how we do it, right? We're a family of 5, so we try to take the family trip, and I tie the baseball trip into it now, so it's a lot of hectic. But we do have a good time. I can tell you that. So we drive, and then we do our thing. I can tell you next year we're driving up to Connecticut to stay with my family for a week to 10 days. And I'm going to try to get the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and the Baseball Hall of Fame done, possibly the Basketball Hall of Fame as well, all in a week. So, yeah, we're on the go, man. It's when we get out there and we're on our trip, it's go time. But let me get back over to the run sheet here. You guys are too much, man. You almost make me choke up a little bit. Where were we? Again, so talked about the early bird RSVPs. Bud Light Baseball Brunch with Murph and Sack. Don't forget, every week, Sundays, tune into that. Always a great time. Great Phillies talk. Even if you're not a Phils fan, tune into those guys. They are some of the best in the business. Certainly the best Phils talk that I've heard. You don't want to miss that. And don't forget, tomorrow night, Green Legion Radio's coverage of the first round of the draft tomorrow night. Do not forget. They did an awesome job last year. It was so much fun to watch that. Watch their reactions as, the trade up to get Jordan Davis and then the trade to get, to get A.J. Brown and just the excitement and everything in the room. It was an awesome time. I'm sure tomorrow night will be the same way. The Birds picked twice in the first round. We should see some fireworks with trades and whatnot. Do not forget to tune into that. And like I said, as for this show, can you believe it's been a year, right? It's funny how quick it goes. So, hop back over here again. David Califoot, go to Boston and watch the Celtics beat up on the Sixers. That's not going to get you any fanfare in that room, buddy. I'd love to go to a game in Boston. It's not the same Garden, but I'd still love to be able to go. Fito Mata in the room, my brother, CT Squad. What up, Whiskey Hill? And Desi, yes, can't wait to see the family in Connecticut. Yep, that's just a year away. Year and change away. So, but that'll be a big trip for us. We drive in, we'll be there for a while. And we may end up having to bring the dog because of how long we're going to be gone. We'll work that out. Russ Taylor, The reason that the Jets-Packers stuff got hashed out was because the NFL stepped in and said, get this crap done and don't mess with the draft. You might be right, and we are going to talk Aaron Rodgers here in just a minute. The last thing I want to update you guys on, as far as my family is concerned, I do like to keep this a family show, so you guys hear about my wife, kids, and everything. You guys know all the madness happens right outside that door. Gilmore Family Cook-Off Round 6 will be this coming Sunday evening after my son gets off work. This time it's going to be Michelle, Liam, Brooklyn, and me participating. We are making sandwiches, and our side, everyone is using tortilla chips as a side, but we're all making a different dip. So here's the rundown. Brooklyn is going to make Italian slider sandwiches on Hawaiian rolls. Her dip is what's called a crack dip. I don't think she really gets the full meaning of it, but she doesn't really need to. It sounds delicious. Michelle is going to make BLTs on a waffle. We have a Belgian waffle maker. She's going to make them. She's going to slice them kind of down and then put the BLT on there. Don't know how it's going to work, but it sounds interesting. Liam is going to make turkey club sandwiches on bagels with a roasted tomato cream cheese, I think was his deal. And I, thanks to Lou Mancini, going to be making the Cuban sandwich. And my dip, I'm sticking to my old reliable, the sausage and tomato dip. You can't really go wrong with it. And I can make that the night before it keeps well overnight. Liam, I think, is just making a fresh salsa. And Michelle, I believe, is going to go with some sort of queso. So should be fun. I believe our friends Kevin and Marissa are going to come by again on Sunday to help judge. Otherwise, it's just Grady judging. That's really not enough. So we'll see what happens there. So that's what's going on here. That's a hell of an intro, isn't it? My God, we went a half an hour on the intro. But awesome that Lou Mancini decided to hop in for a few minutes, man. I'm glad to see you. Just happy to be entertaining for you guys, man. That's really what we're here for. It's what it's all about. So let me, before I forget again, Lou reminded me. I thought he was just reminding me to put that link up there. I did not know he was going to hop in. That was a pleasant surprise. All right. I am going to hop over to Draft Talk. But first, let's talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers. I was messaging with my cousin this morning, my cousin Zeke, and he is a Jets fan. He lives down in Georgia now, but he is a Jets fan. His stance is he'd rather go on the season with Mike White. All right, and he's not alone as a Jets fan with this, so don't get judgmental. All right, there are a lot of Jet fans out there that are not happy about giving up the pick next year for Rodgers. Part of me gets it. It's a first-round pick, but, I mean, look. So what I would have done, okay, if I was going after Aaron Rodgers. We all know Aaron Rodgers has been very flighty, right? He's not much for the OTAs and all that kind of shit. He just kind of wants his guys that he's already got chemistry with. Well, now he's going to another team, and granted, Alan Lazard is there, but they have a core of younger guys. Look, they have the offensive rookie of the year in Garrett Wilson, right? Breece Hall is going to be back, who may have pushed Garrett Wilson as offensive rookie of the year had he stayed healthy all year. So and then you add Alan Lazard to that. The Jets have a nice little core on the offensive side of the football. If I was the Jets making this deal, and we don't know that this didn't happen, all right? It may come out that it did. If it was me, if I'm the Jets, I would have put the verbiage in there. Aaron, we want you to come play quarterback for us. You're a legend. But we need you to buy in entirely to this team. That means we expect you to show up for OTAs. That means we expect you there for all of training camp. We expect you to come be the veteran leader of this team and build chemistry with our very talented young core. Okay? Because they need to be able to trust you just as much as you need to be able to trust them. If that happens, I promise you, Jet fans, you're probably not going to give two shits about that first-round pick next year. Okay? If it doesn't happen, then I get it. But so here's the real here's what got exchanged. Okay, we're gonna break this down. So giving up the first round pick, I understand. He's 39. You don't know how long he's going to be around. Here is what they gave up and what they got back. The Jets. They gave up. They swapped first round picks with the Packers in tomorrow night's draft. Right. They were picking 13th. They gave that to the Packers. The Packers then gave them back number 15 pick in the draft. It's a push. Okay. They gave up their second round pick, number 42 overall, in this year's draft. That'll be Friday night. They gave up a 6th round pick in this year's draft, but got back a 5th round pick in this year's draft. So you come out ahead there. And then the final thing that they gave up was a 2024 conditional 2nd round pick that will become a 1st round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays at least 65% of the snaps for the Jets. In return, like I said, the Jets swapped those first round picks. So they're still picking 15th overall tomorrow night. You got to keep that in mind. That's still happening. And they got back a 5th round pick in this year's draft. And they got Aaron Rodgers. Okay? What it comes down to is you gave up what's going to turn into 1 first round pick, 1 second round pick, and a 6th round pick. And you got back Aaron Rodgers and a 5th rounder. This is Aaron Rodgers. Okay? You can say whatever you want about him hiding in closets and being a fucking weirdo and all that stuff, and I'm with you, man. The guy's been a little cuckoo. And that's why I said I would have had it written into the contract. But the bottom line is this is a 4-time MVP. He has won a Super Bowl. Granted, it was a long time ago, and he's not been back since. But he did win a Super Bowl. He is easily a first ballot Hall of Famer. Right now, he is 9th overall in passing yards for his career. He's 5th overall in passing touchdowns for his career. Even if he only plays 2 more seasons with the Jets, you can make the argument that if he retires after 2 more years, he may very well end up 5th all-time in yards and 3rd all-time in touchdowns. He is currently 2nd all-time in passer rating. 2nd all-time in passer rating. He's been in the league for 18 years. That's a long time of sustained, excellent play. Not to mention, he's not even in the top 50 as far as interceptions thrown. Look, I can appreciate my cousin and and a lot of the other Jets fans. Like I said, he is not alone. I can appreciate the stance of, oh, damn it, we don't know how much we're really going to get out of him. How long is he going to be around? I really don't want to give up that pick. But, like I said, if he buys in and builds that chemistry with that young core, that pick is good. That 1st round pick next year, if he buys in and that core, and he's able to lead that core and really sling the ball around the way we know Aaron can with those talented young kids, you're looking at a Jets team that is, first of all, a playoff team, even in a tough AFC. But second of all, is going to push for the AFC East division. Okay? That might sound crazy to some folks, but let's break down the AFC East division. With or without Aaron Rodgers, they're already better than the Patriots. All right? Until Mac Jones shows us something that he can take that next step, he had a bad year last year. Lou Mancini, it's Patrick Mahomes, his 1st all-time in passer rating. They're better than the Patriots with or without Rodgers. With Rodgers, well, where are they at? Where do they stack up with Rodgers against Buffalo? They stack up pretty well. In particular, if Buffalo doesn't go get a running game to support Josh Allen. Josh Allen can't be their quarterback and their best running back forever. They have to get him some sort of running game, or that offense is going to continue to be erratic. We've already seen Josh Allen not quite as good as he was when Dable was coaching him there. Now Dable's the head coach with the Giants. that's, he's regressed some the last year or so, and the offense has looked erratic. I think that's going to continue if they don't get him, if they don't balance that offense out enough. And then you have the Dolphins. If Tua stays healthy, sorry, Lou and Ash, I love yous, but that's an enormous, enormous if at this point. Okay? I know all the reports are that, Tua, the doctors all say he is not any more susceptible to a concussion as he was before. That's not really the point. The point is, what happens if he does sustain another one? All right? Is that it? Could his career, and God forbid, worse than that, be over in one hit? He got his bell rung a few times at Alabama. He got beat to shit last year. He is one foul swoop away from not being in the league anymore. Look, the Jets, and then if the Jets are a playoff team and they win one playoff game, you're talking about that conditional pick, which will turn into a first-round pick. If the Jets are successful like that, it'll be a first-round pick because Rodgers will have led them there. If they win a playoff game, that pick is somewhere in the mid-20s. And you're going to be upset about giving up, say, the 25th pick overall and a 25th pick, a second-round pick, and a sixth-round pick for a first-ballot Hall of Famer? I think you're going to have to get over it, Jets. Now, look, if he doesn't buy in and doesn't build the chemistry with that team, I'm on your side 100%. Because then it's not going to work. The AFC is too deep and too tough for him to just say, well, we'll build the chemistry as the year goes on, like how he's done the last couple of years in Green Bay. You'll fall too far behind, you won't be able to recover, and you will not make the playoffs. So that's my stance on Rodgers. I don't know if you guys think I'm crazy. I would have, if I was the Jets, written all that shit into the deal, into the reworked contract that's going to come up here soon. If it hasn't broke already, I'm sure he's going to rework that. So that is where we are on Rodgers. Zeke, if you're listening, because it's not a knock on you, bud. I just think that a late first round pick, a second round pick, and a sixth round pick is a pretty small price to pay for the guy who is going to step in and immediately be the best quarterback you've had since Joe Willie Namath. So we'll see how it goes. Who do we got in the room? The usual suspects. Where are we at here? Keenan, Aaron is heading to the bank. He's heading to party with Rodman for the OTAs. Look, man, he starts doing that kind of shit, and, the Jet fans, there's the other piece to this. So you can be a goofball, you can be a knucklehead, you can do whatever you want to do in New York as long as you're winning games. If they come out and start losing games, right, come out of the gates first, say you're 1-4, and they don't look good, and Rodgers is being always, relax, man, it's going to be fine. I'm going to eat some peyote and figure it out. That New York media will eat him up. They will eat him up. Now, I did listen to some of his press conference today. He did a very good job. I would expect nothing less coming in. You got to come in soft. That's New York, man. Those people will devour your ass, and they are waiting to jump on him. They are waiting for the Jets to fail so that they can jump on him. And maybe if you did this during the offseason, didn't hide in the closet, and this darkness retreat, and blah, blah, blah. Don't think for a second that the New York media isn't waiting to just pounce on him for that stuff, because they are. All he's got to do is deliver. He's just got to be him and make everyone around him better. For a guy that talented, should not be that big of a deal. David Conant steps in the room. I get tired of everyone thinking that draft picks are so valuable. I get it. A lot of early picks end up mediocre at best. That is spot on accurate, and that's kind of my point here, my brother. And like I said, a late first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a sixth-round pick for a future Hall of Famer is a small price to pay, especially when it's a future Hall of Fame quarterback, okay? As we head into the draft tomorrow night, compare, and this is a great segue into this. So, Keenan, you do a great Rodgers. That was my best kind of Shaggy impression, right? So, look, as we head into this draft tomorrow night, and every year it gets more and more, right? The focus on the quarterback, right? If you had to compare it to something else, you would compare it to today's housing market. The supply and demand is so far out of whack that it has driven the price tag for quarterbacks through the roof, right? Just like the housing market. People are paying $30, $40, $50, $100,000 more than what the home is actually worth because there's just nothing out there, right? How many people do you guys know? Think about it right now. How many people do you guys know that weren't real estate agents before that now that this spike has happened have gone and gotten their license and started flipping and started selling houses? I mean, I tried to encourage my wife to do it when we were still in Tennessee. Yeah, especially down there in Nashville, you could sleepwalk your way through selling houses down there. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking real estate agents. I have a couple of friends who are excellent at it, right? But right now, when you can flip them that fast, it's just out of control. And the same goes for the quarterback, right? You are going to see tomorrow night, there are going to be quarterbacks taken who are so far overvalued. I'm talking 30 picks higher than where they're really graded out. Think about a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson. Now, Richardson did himself a lot of good with the combine. But to me, that's the underwear Olympics, man. I'm one of those people that doesn't really fully get into that shit. These guys are out there in shorts and a T-shirt. But you're going to see it tomorrow night. So, again, back to the Jets. You're talking about a future Hall of Fame quarterback, right? Probably the second best quarterback of his era, behind Brady. You throw Manning in there too, but I think Rodgers is a little more, his arm talent's definitely better. And you're giving up a late first round, a second round, and a sixth rounder for him. I read you it before, I'll read you to it again. That's for a 4-time MVP, a 1-time Super Bowl champ, the man who is 9th overall in yards, 5th overall in touchdowns, and 2nd overall in passer rating for his career, right? And he's not even in the 50 in his interceptions. It's a no-brainer. You have to make that deal, right? Not to mention, Jet fans, you had already gone past the point of no return with Rodgers. If you had gone that far and came back without him, it would have just been typical type of Jet stuff, right? You'd have been a laughing stock in New York, one of the laughing stocks in the league, but that didn't happen. Your organization made a commitment, and they went and got their guy. They feel like they're a quarterback away. Now, you also have the 15th pick in this year's draft. You have Sauce Gardner on one side who can clamp down anybody's number one option for the most part. What's to say they don't go and grab, say, Joey Porter Jr. to play the number 2 corner position? You imagine trying to pass the ball against that? How many more opportunities do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to get if you've got guys out there stopping the other team's passing attack? Look, man, to me, the deal makes sense as long as Rodgers buys in. That's where we're at. And again, the quarterback's out of control. Oh, God, Mike Mamula talk. Please, no. I don't want to talk about that. Rock and Rise says, I actually love Richardson. I just think he'll be good in a year or 3 for the right team. And that's the problem. These teams are going to take these guys who are probably graded out late first round, early second round talent. They're going to take them in the top 10. They're going to take them in the top 15. You're talking 30-ish picks ahead of where they really should be taken. So anyways. All right, I'm off my high horse about Rodgers and the quarterbacks. Let's move on to the boner of the week. And for me, I kind of struggled with this a little bit. I could have gone Russell Westbrook, who, despite having a great series and finally got some good media attention, back against the wall, and I get it. No Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard, blah, 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 blah. But he goes 3 for 18 from the floor in an elimination game, 1 for 6 from downtown, 4 personal fouls and 5 turnovers. Typical Russ. When he's got to be your focal point, you're never going to win. Stat compiler does not make anyone around him better. That's it. Intensity, And he will bring his intensity and his passion every week, every game. And for that, I commend him. And he can be fun to watch. But he can't shoot for shit, and he does not make anyone else around him better. However, I went a different direction with the boner of the week this weekend, and you guys tell me what you think. I went with the city of Oakland itself. And I don't mean the fans or the people living there. I mean the folks running the city, making the decisions on spending the money, all of that sort of thing. This city loses the Golden State Warriors in 2019. Where did they go? Right across the bay to San Francisco. Now they're over on the other side going, right, with their brand new arena. The Raiders leave town after the 2019 season, open up at the Death Star in Vegas. That place looks beautiful. I wish I could have gone on that trip last year. Just didn't work out. And now it looks like the A's are also on their way to Sin City with the team having agreed to a plot of land up the strip there about a block to block and a half away from Allegiant Stadium for like $1.5 billion or whatever the hell it is to build a stadium on. And the reports are they could begin playing on a minor league field there in Vegas as early as 2025. For me, it's a bit of a bummer. You guys know I take the baseball trips with the boys. One of the trips was San Francisco and Oakland. We were going to knock those two out. And really more about, I get that the aesthetics are better in San Francisco, but the Oakland, while I understand the state, the Coliseum's a dump, there's a lot of history there, a lot of baseball history there. And I'm never going to get to see it because we're just not going to make it there before the end of next year. So it is what it is. We'll have to get the replacement page for our books, our passports when they move to Vegas. But that's what's going to happen. Looks like they're going to start playing on a minor league field as early as 2025. So in a 5 to 6 year stretch, the city of Oakland will have lost one franchise each in 3 of the 4 major sports, being basketball, football, and now baseball. And with the NHL being the only one where they haven't lost a team. And really, does anyone think that's because they just didn't have one in the first place? I mean, if they had one, I'm pretty sure they would fuck that up too, right? So there's my boner of the week is the city of Oakland. And talk about a massive, massive disaster. Rock and Raj. I was at a game where he played really well. Oh, I think we're talking about Mamula still. I don't want to talk about Mamula. Okay, I'm not doing that. David Conant says, stand down Gilmore on my A's. Yes, David Conant is an A's fan. I don't think he's going to continue to root for that team when they move to Vegas, though. We'll see what happens when they actually do move. That's a tough one. When you root for a team for that long, and granted, it's not like he lives there, but Dave is his favorite player ever, Ricky Henderson. So huge, huge A's fan. And to see the team leave what he grew up with, that's got to be tough. All right. Who else do we have here? Lou Mancini. I like that. I can't believe Oakland's about to have no teams. No teams. Now, small market, but, you could have taken care of at least one of them. My God. And especially, I think the one with the A's is even worse, right? Because the Warriors are gone, right? The Raiders moved out. You had one team left to take care of, and you couldn't even do that, right? You basically put the franchise in a position to have to turn around and start playing hardball with it, and now they're moving on to Vegas. David Conant says no, he will definitely not be rooting for them. All right, well. Rock and Raj, my buddy and I are hoping the Birds play the Pats in September. That way we can get to Fenway while we're there. You hope that the schedule lines up that way. And I promise you, when you go up there, when you go to Boston, do not drive in Boston. All right, take the mass transit or whatever, or park somewhere outside the city and just Uber or Lyft or whatever. Driving around that city is a nightmare. The way I tell people is when you look over the top of like a Philly or New York, it's a grid, right? Everything runs. When you look over the top of Boston, it's like somebody took a blank map of the city and grabbed a massive handful of uncooked spaghetti and just went, and said, "There's your fucking," or let me do the action right. There's your fucking roadmap, right? So, and then you get the streets that run one way in one direction for a part of the day and one way in the other direction. Just don't do it. Just don't drive. So, all right, guys, girls, it's draft time. Tomorrow night is the NFL first round of the NFL draft. Once again, I want to remind you, do not forget to watch the Green Legion Radio's first round coverage tomorrow night. If you can't watch, listen, okay? They are fantastic. I wish to God, this is one of those times when I do wish we lived in Philly, or at least somewhere in the area, so I could go be in studio with them, because I think it would be a blast. Anytime I've been around those guys, it's always a great time. And it would be, but here I am in Ohio trying to get more people to follow the Green Legion. So we'll keep thumping that. Roger, thanks for the advice. Yeah, no problem, dude. I don't know much else I haven't been to Boston in a very long time. But I do know that the streets really haven't changed all that much. Just take the mass transit, dude, or take Uber or Lyft. You're way better off. Anyways, the draft, round 1, tomorrow night. Okay, so here's what I kind of want to do now for the last, 10 to 20 minutes of the show, 10 to 15 minutes of the show. I want to run through the top 10. We all know we're picking 10th. You guys all know where I stand there, and we'll get to that to actually close the show. But how about the first 9, right, before we get to the birds? And you guys tell me if I'm nuts on these picks here. A couple of them are freaking obvious, in particular the first one, right? So here we go, out of the gates. Your number 1 pick in the draft is the Carolina Panthers. Okay, so they traded up to get this spot, right? And they gave up DJ Moore, who's a legit number 1 wide receiver. They gave up a bunch of draft capital. And you don't do that for anything else but a quarterback, and this will be no exception. There were back and forth rumors about Stroud or maybe Richardson or whatever. I don't see that. And now as we get closer, those have kind of subsided, and you're seeing more and more of what's more likely to happen. And that's the former 5-star recruit and Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young out of Alabama. If you watch that kid and, if you watch college football at all, you can't not watch him because fucking Bama's on it all the time. So, you got to take somebody. He's small, okay? 5'10", 202. But when you watch the film, when you see, if you watch them week in and week out, the kid can make all the throws, all right? He's the most talented quarterback in this draft. He's not the prototypical size, but, it's kind of hard to, the ridiculous numbers he put up in the SEC against top national competition week in and week out. Aside from, their out of conference schedule is a joke, but their in conference is the SEC. So Bryce Young's going number 1 in my opinion. And Russ Taylor is already telling me that I'm crazy. They are taking what you think they're taking Will Levis out of Kentucky. I do not. I think that's crazy talk, but we'll see what happens. Lou Mancini, how are we trading up for Will Anderson? I don't see it. We don't have the draft capital to really trade up, but never know. Now, when I did this, I didn't take any trades into account. There's some spots here that could trade out. Some that are more likely to trade out than others. I just took this as, okay, this team's hanging on to this pick. Who are they going to take? All right. So we move to number 2, the Houston Texans. There is a lot of talk that they may go defense here. I think it would be a very foolish decision. Now, they cost themselves the number 1 pick by winning that last game of the year. That was kind of Lovie Smith's final on his way out the door because he knew he was getting fired. So they are the number 2 pick, which means they do not control, who they might want. They may covet Bryce Young, but they don't get to do that. So, look, I think I think it's nice to think about. They might take defense, and DeMeco Ryan certainly would have no trouble picking a defensive player there. But I do believe this pick is going to be C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. Also a former 5-star recruit, was a Heisman finalist in 2022. Unlike Bryce Young, Stroud does check all the physical boxes. He's 6'3", 214 pounds, coming from a program that puts its quarterback in great position to succeed. And Stroud took full advantage of all of that, right? They've kind of started calling Ohio State wide receiver U. But somebody's got to deliver him the ball, right? Took full advantage of it. Stats are off the charts. The one knock I would have on Stroud is, as you watched him last year and previous to that, a little reluctant to pull down and run even when it was there. And you like to go back and look at that game against Michigan. The passing offense wasn't doing it. Had he just pulled it down and taken off a few times, it could have made a difference. And he didn't do that. He will have to rectify that and recognize it, because he can run. He's not the fastest guy on the planet, but he can run. And in the NFL, the windows are tighter, so you have to recognize when it's not there and just take what they're giving you. Don't let some of the regular season woes this past season with that sort of thing fool you, though. It's not like this kid doesn't have all the tools. And if you need any validation of that, go ahead and watch that game against Georgia in the college football playoff. He was absolutely unbelievable. Keep in mind, went pretty much the whole year without one of the best receivers in the country, in Jackson Smith-Njigba. All right. Number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. This is the first spot where I think you might see a trade. All right. Now, I didn't consider who might trade up there because they may covet Levis or Richardson. Anybody going to trade up this high is probably not doing it for anything else but a quarterback again. Again, like we talked about, like the housing market, the premium on quarterbacks, right? They could trade back and give someone a shot at Levis or Richardson. And like I said, I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen here. But for these purposes, let's just say they stay. Like I said, I didn't take trades into account with this. I think they're going to go defense, right? Big Shock, our former defensive coordinator is now the head coach there. They need help on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're going to take a defensive player with the number 3 pick in the draft, why not take the top-rated defensive player in the draft with the young man they call the Terminator, Will Anderson Jr., again, another kid out of Alabama, edge rusher, 6'4", 253 pounds. During his sophomore season this past year, he tallied 200 – they nicknamed him the Terminator during his sophomore season. For his career at Bama, 204 total tackles, 58.5 for a loss, 34.5 sacks, and a pick 6 in his 41 games at Bama. If you're going to go defense here, Arizona, this is the pick, right? It's there. It should be there for you on a silver platter, unless Houston decides to take it. At number 4, the Indianapolis Colts. Anything is possible here, but if they don't take a quarterback, I would be absolutely floored. This team has tried to go to that, that veteran quarterback market, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, and it's not working. They have got to somewhere along the line hit that reset button, draft themselves a kid that they can work on, and this is the spot to do it. Okay? Again, I think Bryce Young is the top-rated quarterback in the draft and would be, top 5 to 10 rated. Stroud right behind that. Levis and Richardson, at best are mid-first round to bottom first round, maybe even early second round picks. Richardson did himself a whole lot of good with the combine. And when you look at Richardson, Will Levis has been the rumor here, okay? 6'4", 229 out of Kentucky. But if they take Levis, this is probably, like I've been talking about, this is probably the first reach of the draft, right? Where somebody kind of comes out over their skis. He had a nice couple seasons with the Wildcats. And they do run a pro-style offense there, and he did play against SEC competition. But nothing to really wow you. He's got the physical attributes. He's got a good arm and everything. But this is also a kid who was behind Sean Clifford at Penn State and could not beat Sean Clifford for that starting job, okay, for 2 years. Does anyone here in this room, and I know a bunch of you either watch Penn State and or root for Penn State, is anybody thinking Sean Clifford is a stud? Is like an NFL quarterback? I don't. I didn't really care for him at Penn State. I thought he was a choke artist in the big game. And Will Levis couldn't beat him out. So for all those reasons, I think that's why Anthony Richardson probably makes more sense for them. Like Levis, he's got the prototypical size. He's actually a little bit heavier. He's 6'4", 244. Again, would be a bit of a project. However, Richardson does possess way more athleticism, as was on full display all year long and at the combine. You guys know who the head coach is in Indianapolis now, right? It's Shane Steichen, who was our offensive coordinator. And I think we all saw the success he had as the OC with an athletic quarterback by the name of Jalen Hurts. It's just one more reason why I think Richardson ends up with the Colts, because I think Steichen is going to, if I could put this kid, line him up in an RPO set with Jonathan Taylor standing next to him, even as a rook, it's going to make some mistakes, but you might be looking at some fireworks. So I think that's where it makes the most sense for the Colts to go is Anthony Richardson. Califoot, what round do we think Quimby's going in? Depends on how many rounds of shots he has first. All right, there's your top four. Moving on. Number 5. Oh, God, Dave, you know what, Conant? The Cincinnati kid. I swear to God. And Lou Mancini agrees. No, Sean Clifford is not an NFL quarterback. All right, moving on. Seattle Seahawks pick 5th. Once again, I guess quarterback could be possible. They did just sign Geno, but it's kind of a short deal. But Pete Carroll does love his defense. And with that in mind, I think this is the landing spot for Jalen Carter. I do. We did talk a lot about this kid last week, I think the last couple of weeks. So no need to rehash. We all know the off-the-field shit and how he showed up kind of, a little underwhelming at his workout. Only did the position drills, could barely get through those. Excuse me, without being winded. So, but we also know his freakish size and strength can be an absolute menace to an opposing offense. With that work ethic and motivation seeming to be lacking, a veteran defensive coach like Pete Carroll is probably just what the doctor ordered for this kid. And I think if he's sitting there at 5, it might be a little too much for Pete to pass on. So that's why I think he goes. I think he goes Jalen Carter goes number 5 to the Seahawks. At the 6th pick, the Detroit Lions. They appear to be fine with Jared Goff at the helm of the offense. So I think we're looking at defense once again here. And I think this is the spot where you see your first cornerback come off the board. And for my money, it would be Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. Another prospect we've talked about extensively on here. You guys know, you've heard me talk about it a bunch of times. I really, really like this kid. When the Eagles going into the offseason free agency, it looked like we were going to retain either Bradbury or Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, leaving that other corner spot open. This was the kid that I was like, man, if he's there at number 10, you got to go get him. Went into, was a 0-star recruit after a pretty nice high school career in Florida. And he ends up at Illinois, a 0-star prospect. He ends up as an All-American, Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year, and a Thorpe Award finalist in his final season, 5'11", 182, and surprisingly can actually bring it pretty well against the run. The only caveat here would be is if Jalen Carter falls down past Seattle. A guy like Dan Campbell, looking at a guy like Jalen Carter, it might be a little too enticing for him to pass up. But I think Carter goes, for me, I think Carter goes to Seattle, and I think Witherspoon ends up with the Detroit Lions. Keenan Harmon, Quimby, let me in. I got tacos. Hey, man, you bring tacos here, I'll let you in. Shit, my wife will let you in. All right, number 7 overall, the Las Vegas Raiders. They've got Jimmy G, but if Richardson is sitting there, they could get tempted. I don't know that Levis is really on their radar. My thoughts are that this is another corner going off the board here. And this time I think it's Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. We did talk some about this kid. You guys know my stance on Pac-12 defense. I'm not overly impressed, okay? And I'm not trying to knock the kid. I just don't think you have to be all that great to look great as a defensive player in the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 defense sucks. That's my take on it. However, 6'2" kid, okay? He does have the physical attributes on the outside that teams look for. Now, you guys remember corners used to be like 5'8", 5'10". That was your prototypical corner. A lot of teams now want that 6'2", like a Bradbury, okay? Longer arms, fast, more than the shorter, compact guy. So the Raiders need help on the outside. The Raiders need help in a bunch of places, but they need help on the outside. I think this kid could probably solve some of their problem. I've got Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon going to the Vegas Raiders. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. First of all, I'll tell you, I was very surprised that they have not been in play for Lamar Jackson. Maybe it's the threat of having to give up 2 first-round picks plus the big contract for a guy, all the reasons we've talked about why there is no market for Lamar. Probably the same shit the Falcons are thinking. But be that as it may, do they really think Desmond Ridder is the long-term answer there? Is this the spot where they try to trade up maybe to that Arizona spot to get their guy in Richardson or Levis? If they think Richardson is the guy, do they get him a weapon, a la Bijan Robinson? Or, seeing as they also need a ton of help on defense, is that where they go? And that's kind of my guess here. It makes kind of the most sense unless they go quarterback. And you're probably – so let's look at Lucas Van Ness, the defensive end out of Iowa, fills a pass rush need that this team desperately needs. He is absolutely enormous, 6'5", 272 pounds, nicknamed Hercules for, I guess, very good reason. Still needs a bit of work to add some diversity to his pass rush, but he likes to bull rush. So what that tells you is what? He's a big, huge kid, and he likes to push people around. That's a big, nasty sumbitch that I would love to have on the outside if I rushing the quarterback if I'm the Atlanta Falcons. We've got an opinion here from Dave Conant. The Falcons will trade their first-round pick for TB12 and a 7th rounder. Of all the places Tom Brady could end up, I think Atlanta would be somewhere near the bottom of where I would think about. But that is fucking funny. Anyways, I'm saying Lucas Van Ness there because they do need the defense. This is, again, unless they trade up or whatever and take a quarterback. Don't forget, the way I have this working out, Will Levis is sitting there in my top 10. So, take it for what it's worth. At number 9, the Chicago Bears, who went into this offseason with, 9 overall draft picks and $92 million cap space. They made a trade. Ended up with 10 draft picks and DJ Moore. And they still pick in the top 10. And I think continuing the trend of bolstering defenses, another huge edge rusher. This time it's Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 271-pound kid out of Texas Tech. Second team AP All-American and first team All-Big 12 in his senior season with the Red Raiders. Posted 61 tackles, 14 for a loss, and 7 sacks and 10 starts before a foot injury ended his year. Does struggle a bit against the run, and for his size, he tends to get taken out of plays a bit too easily. But we've seen that's not a lot of young guys that happens, right? You can correct that. Massive size and lateral quickness can make him a nightmare for anyone. There's a lot if you go look at some of these mock drafts, I don't get too much into it, but it's just nice to see where people think people are going. A lot of people have Tyree Wilson actually getting picked earlier. We'll see. All right, folks, that's your top 9. And now we get to our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. All right, you guys know my stance here. First and foremost, let's get it out of the way. I am sick and tired of hearing about Bijan Robinson. Mike English, if you're out there, I loved your comment right away. Don't want to hear any more about Bijan Robinson. I don't want to pick a running back at number 10. I'm enjoying the fact that our running back room may only cost us $6.2 million at most this season. Okay? Unless you're used to playing the Madden video game with the salary cap turned off, you have to be able to pinch pennies and save money somewhere. Howie believes the running back position and unfortunately the linebacker position are 2 of those spots where he can save money and still get value elsewhere. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way. Oh, Ashley in the room. Happy anniversary. Thank you, dear. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for dropping in. All right. After the Bijan Robinson talk, look, you guys know my stance here. I like Pete Skoronski out of Northwestern. 6'4", 313 or 314 pounds. How big is that kid? 313 out of Northwestern. This is a kid who was recruited as a center, right? And then had to take over as the blindside left tackle in his freshman year in the COVID-shortened 2020 season. Makes all 9 starts. Earned second team All Big Ten honors. And again, in 2021, starting all 12 games that year. And then in his final season, named the Big Ten's top offensive lineman and first team All-Conference in 2022, starting all 12 games. Again, this is against Big 12. This is against, against Ohio State, against Michigan, against Penn State, against teams that can get after the quarterback. He protects the blind side. Did not miss a start. And if we draft him, we're drafting him basically to eventually supplant Lane Johnson. We have no idea how much longer Lane's going to go. Okay? He'll be entering, is it his 11th season? He's had some injury trouble, right? Including this offseason. I think this is the spot for to try to look. It's either that or you trade back. If you're not going to pick in the trenches, then you trade back. Because the other part of what the Eagles need to look at is right now we pick first, we pick 10th, 30th, right? So 2 picks in the first round. Then we have 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and then we don't pick again until 2 picks in the 7th round. You build your roster in rounds 3 through 5-ish, right? That's where your core comes from. We have no picks. We have got to get more picks there. So if they pick somewhere in the trenches at number 10, or they trade back to get more picks, you're never going to hear me complain. If they take Bijan Robinson, or what has Roger got here? Jackson Smith and Jigba? No. We do not need the wide receiver. Okay? There's no need for that. We don't need the receiver. We don't need the running back. David Califoot. Going to watch the Bruins close this out. Love you guys. Great show. Gilmore, Yankees suck. Go Boston. I would say good luck to your Bruins, but I wouldn't mean it. But thank you, as always, for coming in, bud. I appreciate you hanging with us. And I hope you've had a good time I hope you had as much fun as we had over this past year. But, we're on that number 10 pick. Rocking Roger, I wasn't defense or in Jigba at 10. Anything else, I'll be pissed. Look, dude, I'm not taking Njigba. I don't need him. And I'm not taking Bijan Robinson. I don't need him. Now, if you want to talk defense, okay. We could take a defensive tackle. We've got we're pretty thin there, or an edge rusher, if there's one down there. I don't want Jalen Carter if he falls down there. I went over that last week. I don't want any part of it. But anyways, that's what I've got for the top 10. I didn't go through the whole first round. We would be here for hours. Not to mention, that's for these guys to do tomorrow night with Green Legion Radio's first round coverage, live from the studio, just like last year. So please, all of you, make sure When you're settling in for the draft, get your laptop on or throw your phone up there and, maybe mute the TV and give the Green Legion the room with the sound, right? I promise you it will be worth your while, just like it was last year. Guys, girls, everyone, I want to say thank you once again for everything over this past year. I hope we can continue to do this for a lot longer, a lot more time to come. I do need to start looking at some way to try to bring some more scratch in for the Green Legion. So if you guys know of anyone who's willing to sponsor something, even on a small time basis, please don't hesitate to reach out. But other than that, it's been my pleasure, as always, to try to entertain you for an hour here. I hope I've been entertaining tonight. I hope I've entertained you over the last year. And if I have in either a good way or a bad way, if I have in a good way, by all means, come back and keep having fun. If you've been turned off by it, give us another shot. You never know what we're going to talk about week to week. Of course, next week, we'll be talking about the aftermath of the draft, good, bad, or ugly, and we'll probably get into some more baseball talk again too. But until then, for all of us here at the Gilmore abode, to all of you out there in Green Legion Radio land, we thank you very much for giving us your time every week, including this week. It is 100% my honor and my pleasure to try to entertain you for the hour and change that we have. I love you guys and girls. I can't thank you enough, and I will see you next week. Oh, we'll have the results of the cook-off too, which I know Lou Mancini is looking forward to. Thank you for the Cuban sandwich idea again. Anyways, before I drag this on any longer, guys, I wish I could sit and talk to you forever. Gift of the gab. I could do this all day, every day, but I don't want to keep taking too much of your time, and I got to go eat dinner. Right? And I got my son downstairs waiting to watch some playoff basketball. So, for the Unhappy Brigade, for Unhappy Gilmore, for this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you, as always, for joining us. And as always, and including tomorrow night, go Birds! All right, kids, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you again. Be safe this weekend. We'll see you next week.